Welcome back, friends. I'm Yvonne Davis, author, astrologer, and life transformation coach. And this is my channel where I do general astrology and political astrology. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, click like on this video, share with friends and family and on social media, and leave your comments below. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, and this is so powerful that I'm going to be doing a series. So, also a little more business, which is if you're interested in my astrology basics workshop, which is basic because we don't know the level, but I will be working with students one-on-one. There will be half-hour FaceTime online, and that will be every week. So over the 6 weeks, that's 3 hours of FaceTime with me, and then also 3 hours of group FaceTime with me. So that's a total of 6 hours over 6 weeks. I mean, the the value there is just unbelievable. So if you guys want to get your questions answered, your astrological questions answered, this is a way to get face-to-face interaction with me at a price that is just unbelievably low. So I hope you'll sign up because I really want to get more activity on this because I had a lot of people who wanted this. And I think that because of the coronavirus and economic slowdown that people are resistant to do something that they really wanted to do because they have fear. So if you have financial fear, please contact me at admin@yvonnedavis.com. I'm willing to work with people on a sliding scale if necessary, okay? All right, so let's go over here. And I want to first show you the chart. So this is Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. The first time it conjoins, and it conjoins direct. It's going to go retrograde, conjoin a second time retrograde on June 30th, and then direct again on November 12th, and that will be the third conjunction. So it conjoins 3 times. First time direct, second time retrograde, third time direct. This is incredibly powerful energy, and I want to make sure that you guys make the most of it and don't miss out on it because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This energy will never come around again. So this is Pluto and Jupiter conjunct at 24 degrees, 53 minutes. And Pallas Athena is in there too. She's actually playing an important role in this conjunction as well. But like I said, I'm going to be doing a series on this because this energy is so important. I don't want you to miss out on it. And I really want you to understand why this is so important. And so now that I've shown you the chart and you know that that's April 4th, I want to bring up a comment that I had on one of my videos because it brought into my awareness perhaps a possible way that this could be interpreted, and it hadn't occurred to me that it could be interpreted this way. So I really, really appreciated this question posed by Renee Lindsay. She said, I'm assuming that's a she, my apologies if that's incorrect. Are you saying that whatever we focus on during this time is what we will attract for the rest of our life, more so now than ever before? So I wanted to be very clear that no, this is not, that's not the way I intended it to be interpreted. There's only one thing that you can manifest the rest of your life, and that's death. Once you're dead, that's it. You know, you can't manifest anything else once you're dead. As long as you're alive, you can always manifest something new in the present moment, in the future. So you can even actually change the energy vibrations of the past. So, so nothing is set in stone, okay? Nothing is forever. What I meant to say was that the conjunction and the energy that we get from this conjunction is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And it's incredibly powerful, and it will never come around again in our lifetime. So let me try to get a little more clarity around that. Because Pluto takes something like 250 to 275 years to go all the way around the zodiac, none of us will ever see Pluto in Capricorn again. Jupiter only takes 12 years, but it takes about 13 years to go around the zodiac and catch up with Pluto again. But the next time this happens, Pluto will be in Aquarius. Okay? So what I'm saying is that we will never again in our lifetime experience the energetic vibration of Pluto conjunct Jupiter in Capricorn. Okay? After this year, Jupiter will move out of Capricorn into Aquarius, and by the time Jupiter gets all the way around again, that takes 12 years. Pluto will have already moved into Aquarius in early 2023. So Jupiter will catch up with Pluto in Aquarius, and that will happen in 13 years from now. So yes, Pluto and Jupiter will conjoin again, but it will conjoin in Aquarius, and the energy will be very different. The Capricorn energy is unique. So the Pluto Pluto conjunct Jupiter energy is in Capricorn is unique, and we experience the conjunctions 3 times this year, and then once that's over, we will never ever get to experience Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn again in our lifetime. So the way to think about it isn't that whatever you manifest at this year in your life that you're stuck with for the rest of your life. No, that's absolutely not what I was saying. What I was saying is that if someone gave you a lottery ticket and you flushed it down the toilet and then later found out it was, it was like a winning Powerball ticket, and you flushed it down the toilet and you had no way to prove that you owned that ticket, and a year goes by and it expires and there's nothing you can do about it because you flushed it down the toilet, well, you're still going to have opportunities to manifest things for the rest of your life, but you will never be able to get that ticket back. See, that's the thing. Another way to think of it is like, I love that story where there's someone, like there's a flood like Katrina, and someone's standing on their rooftop begging for help, and a boat comes by and they say, no, I trust God. I have faith in God. God's going to save me. And then a motorboat comes by and they say the same thing. No, I don't need your help. I'm waiting for God to save me. I have faith God will save me. And then finally a helicopter comes by and they drop down a rope and say, grab hold, we'll save you. And the person says, no, I have faith in God. God will save me. And then they get swept away by the flood. And when they arrive at the pearly gates, they say to God, why didn't you save me? I was waiting for you to save me. And God's like, I sent a raft and a boat and a helicopter. What more did you want me to do? So it's like that. It's like saying, no, thanks. I don't need that winning ticket. Just, pass on by. I mean, if that's the way you feel, then, there's nothing I can do to convince you to use this energy. And also the other thing to understand is it's only to the capacity of your ability to receive. So I did answer the question there, and I would like to read my answer because, I felt like it encapsulated what I would want to say. So I want to make sure that I'm sharing that with everyone. So I said, at first I wasn't sure I understood the question. Melissa Thompson also responded, and I really appreciated what she said. I thought she was spot on. And so again, I wanted to be very clear that there's no such thing as attracting something for the rest of your life except death. That's the only thing you can attract for the rest of your life, because once you're dead, you're dead. There's no more attracting, no more manifesting after you're dead. Okay. But as long as you're alive, you can keep manifesting new and attracting new things. So anyway, I was saying that what is true is that every thought you have, every emotion, every word, every action is a manifestation. So Melissa was spot on when she said, if you want to be a pilot, don't get your degree in accounting. So I couldn't have put it better myself. So for me, in my personal life, it was, if you want your life to be about freedom and consciousness expansion, which I did, then don't do things that enslave you. Okay. Like, it's not brain, surgery. This isn't rocket science. And I know that didn't come through clearly when I was talking about Jupiter Pluto. So that's why I'm going to do a series on Jupiter Pluto, because this is the most important energy this year for you personally. Now, the Saturn Pluto conjunction is happening. The Saturn Pluto conjunction is a generational transformation, and the Jupiter conjunction is part of that. But the fact is, you can use this energy for yourself personally. Okay, you don't have to be swept up in the crisis. You can continue to move forward in your own life. You'll have to make adjustments based on what's happening on a species level, in terms of generational transformation. But that doesn't mean that you can't use the energy personally for your own benefit. In fact, this conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto is often called the millionaire conjunction or the billionaire conjunction, and there's a reason for that. So the point is to make more of your thoughts, feelings, words, and actions about freedom and consciousness expansion, not about slavery and ignorance. So if that's what you want, that's what I wanted. I wanted freedom and consciousness expansion. So I had to make more of my thoughts, feelings, words, and actions about freedom and consciousness expansion, and not about slavery and ignorance. And what that means is, you can choose ignorance. There are millions, probably, possibly even billions of people on this planet right now who are choosing ignorance. And you can choose slavery. There are billions of people on this planet who are choosing slavery. And some people might say slavery isn't a choice, but it actually is, because you can live with very little. There are Buddhist monks who own nothing more than the robe that they wear, their sandals, and the bowl that they carry. That's it. And they may have a monastery that they live in. They may even do some farming, to grow food, gardening to grow food. But the fact is that their focus is not on owning possessions. Their focus is on spiritual freedom. Okay. Expansion of spiritual consciousness, spiritual evolution. That's where their focus is. So they're about freedom, not slavery. But that's the point, though, is that no matter where you are, no matter what your circumstances are, if you can live with nothing more than what you've got on your body, basically, and I can do that. As I mentioned in another video, I spend a lot of time backcountry camping, hiking and camping, and I even did some survivalist training. I don't know if I could survive, but I would do my best, But the point is that that's freedom and power. When you don't need anything but what you can carry on your body, and what's inside you, which is your internalized power, then you're free, So that's why I say there's no such, that you choose slavery, even someone who, this is radical responsibility. Okay. This is radical empowerment. Even if you're in prison, you still have a choice about where your heart energy goes. You still have a choice about where your consciousness goes. You can free yourself even when you're in prison. So if you can shift into radical self-responsibility, you can shift into radical empowerment. Okay. People who can't do that miss the opportunity for radical empowerment, and they miss the opportunity for what Jupiter and Pluto conjunction has to offer. And I don't want you guys to miss that opportunity. So again, what I was saying is, if I want freedom and consciousness expansion, then I have to make more of my thoughts, feelings, words, and actions about freedom and consciousness expansion, not about slavery and ignorance. Because again, a person can choose ignorance, or they can choose consciousness expansion. And a person can choose freedom as opposed to slavery under any circumstances. And I mean literally any circumstances. There's nothing a person can do to take away your ability to love and to expand your consciousness. Nothing. And so you manifest what you focus your resources on. So get clear about what you want to manifest. Do you want to manifest things that will create love, joy, freedom, and gratitude in your life? Or fear, unhappiness, and slavery? So if your heart says, I really don't want to go down that path. I don't want to. Why am I not doing this? I don't really want to do this. You know, if you're not doing something, it's because there's a part of you that doesn't really want to do it. And I'm saying, listen to your heart. If your heart says, I don't want to go down that path, then listen to your heart and don't go down that path. That is the path toward slavery. If your heart doesn't want to go down that path, then don't go down that path. And, you know, this whole idea of I have to is not true. And I'll tell you why it's not true. But let me finish reading this. The energy of the Pluto, Jupiter, and Capricorn is the billionaire conjunction, and it will never happen again in our lifetime. So don't flush this energy down the toilet because it will never come around again. Does it literally mean it will make you a billionaire? No. But it will give you as much power and wealth as you are willing to receive. But from the perspective of spirit, wealth is an energy, a frequency, not necessarily dollar bills, but could possibly manifest as dollar bills as long as those dollars come from an energy vibration of love and joy and gratitude, not slavery. Okay. So thank you again, Renee Lindsay, for that awesome question. It gave me the opportunity to clarify, to make sure that everybody could get an understanding of this. And if you have any further questions, please ask them. I mean, this is important stuff. You know, that's empowerment. Renee Lindsay empowered herself by asking the question. And thank you, Melissa Thompson, for your awesome response. That really, really adds to the conversation. And to everybody else who left comments on that video. All right, so let's go back and look at the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction again. So we can, now that, you know, hopefully I've gotten you more clarity about what I meant by that, now we can talk about how to use this energy, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime lottery ticket. And I'm a little reluctant to use that word because I don't want people to think that literally, that if you go out and buy a lottery ticket, you're going to win the Powerball or something like that. You can't take these things so literally. Another way I like to use the phrase I like to use is golden ticket. It's your golden ticket. You can do with it whatever you want. You can flush it down the toilet if you want to, or you can use it. And I'm hoping that all of you will use it, because I think the people who watch my channel are awesome. That's you guys. So I want you to benefit from this energy. So the conjunction takes place, the first one takes place on April 4th, and it's in the evening. It's exact in the evening. So we're already building up to this energy. And so we got to talk about the energy individually, and then how they blend together, and then specifically how the energies manifest through the sign of Capricorn. So Pluto is the god of the underworld, and the god of wealth and power. So when you go into the underworld, you go into your shadow, okay? And when you go into your shadow, you're able to transform the lead of your woundedness into the golden light of empowerment. So your power is actually in your shadow, because you have to go down into your shadow in order to access the power and transmute that lead into gold, okay? It doesn't just show up at your door. You have to do the initiation. The initiation is to go down into the underworld. The underworld is your subconscious. your shadow, where things are hidden. You encounter your own inner demons. Those are your wounded, those wounded parts of yourself. And you do the healing to transmute that lead, the chunks of globbed up woundedness that have never been processed that you hold in your energetic body. You have to break that up. And it can feel very toxic when it's happening, because it breaks up, just like if you're holding any toxicity in your fat cells. If you lose weight, the fat cells release the energy inside them. And if there's toxicity, it releases the toxicity too. But you just have to do that. You have to process out the toxicity, process it out of your body, process it out of your energetic being. So that can sometimes feel, it can feel toxic. So the way you know something is there is when you get triggered. That's the clue. It's like a red flag going up. And then you look at what is that red flag pointing to? What is the trigger pointing to? For example, I get highly triggered when people lie, because I have a wounding around someone lying, and that put my life in danger when I was a child. So I get triggered around that, but I can work with that wounding and turn that into power. Okay. So anything that triggers you, if, I don't know, maybe you can, when you watch this video, some of you can share things that trigger you, because that'll give us clues about where the wounding is. And if someone else reads that comment and says, oh yeah, that happens to me too, then we can start to sort out what the triggers are pointing to in terms of the wounding that needs to be healed. That's the lead, the clumped, toxic, wounded energy that you hold in your energetic body that needs to be broken up, dispersed, and processed through the body, both physically and energetically. And that has to happen. So yes, it can cause you to feel toxic. It can be exhausting. But once you do that work, you never have to go back and do that piece again. That piece is done. It doesn't mean there isn't more to do, but still that piece is done. So that's Pluto. Pluto is the god of the underworld, calls us into the underworld, our subconscious, our shadow, to work with our inner demons down there and to turn the lead into the golden light of empowerment. Then we get the treasure that's down there in the cave, the wealth and the treasure that's down there in the underworld, and we bring it back up into the world with us when we come back from that initiation. So again, if you're wanting to understand this in more depth, there are tons and tons of research that talks about the alchemical process of initiation. And so, you know, if you're not understanding what I'm saying in my videos, feel free to ask questions and I'll do my best to explain. But also, if you want to do more research on your own, there are tons and tons of resources about this. So, so that's Pluto, the god of the underworld, but also, and death, but also the god of transformation, initiation, power, and wealth. So once you do your initiation and your transformation, then you gain the power and wealth. That's the reason to do it. Now, Jupiter is the great benefic, and Jupiter expands everything it touches. So when Jupiter touches Pluto, it expands that capacity for wealth and power. It also expands the intensity of Pluto. So, you know, so if you're having intense emotions or an intense experience, you know, like what's happening external is triggering that for a lot of us, this feeling of intensity. As I mentioned in a previous video, you know, I had to recognize that I had a lot of rage, and I have rage around the fact that there is wealth distribution upward, and what angers me most about the Republican propaganda is that they are always, you know, trying to condemn people for, like turning welfare and socialism into a bad word, turning wealth distribution into a bad word, and yet they're doing wealth distribution all the time, every day. It's just that it's distributed up, 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 all the time up, corporate socialism going up, 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 corporate welfare up, up, up. They're always in favor of that. Republicans will always vote in favor of corporate socialism and corporate welfare, and they'll always vote in favor of redistributing wealth up, 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 up. They have no problem with that at all. But if someone who is homeless or has no access to health care, no opportunity for employment, maybe they even have a mental illness or a physical disability, and they're left on the streets. There's no help for them, or people who are hardworking but can only make minimum wage and have no health benefits or any opportunity to improve themselves, like to go to college or something like that. There's no help for them, So that it just makes me angry. And the division of wealth in this country has gotten wider and wider and wider and wider. And it really started with Reaganomics, what is often called voodoo economics, because trickle-down economics is a lie. It doesn't work. And we've been suffering the repercussions of that way of thinking ever since Reagan got into office. So, yeah, and it's just gotten worse every year. And that's what enrages me, not just because it's happening, but because they lie. And they tell people who are hardworking people. There are many, many people in this country who are hardworking people. They're part of the working class. Even if you're a professional, if your money comes from your work, your wealth comes from your work, you are part of the working class. If your primary wealth comes from capital, then you are part of the capitalist class. And that's just an economic fact. That's just a straight up economic definition. So the problem that, enrages me with the Republican propaganda is that they are lying, and they lie to people who are in the working class, and those people actually believe what the Republicans are saying because they didn't get a degree in economics and they haven't done the research and they don't know the difference. It's not that they're bad people. It's that they are ignorant of the economic and political facts. And so when they believe what the Republicans tell them, they're actually voting against their own interests. And that's what enrages me. And I can really, really, really get on a soapbox about this. And I can really get enraged about it. But the other thing that, has really triggered rage in me is that we have to start changing our behavior in order to take into account what is happening to our environment, to our body Earth, okay? Because if we don't get our shit together as a human species, it doesn't mean everybody's going to be on board, but it needs to be a critical mass. If we don't get on board with what needs to be done to change our behavior, to live in harmony with our Earth body, because without the Earth, we cannot survive. And not only will we cause our own extinction, we are already causing the extinction of massive numbers of other species. We are literally in the sixth mass extinction based on the definition of a mass extinction and the data coming in, the hard scientific evidence coming in says that we are now in the sixth mass extinction, and it is primarily caused by human activities. So that enrages me because I have fear underneath the rage. I have fear that if we don't do something, then what we're seeing today will be nothing. What we're seeing today will be a picnic in the park. And I know people are suffering right now, and I don't want to see that magnified 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times. I don't know how bad it could get. You know, I don't actually believe that the entire human species will go extinct, because there clearly was an extinction event in the past. And I saw a documentary once that said that every human being on this planet came from a colony of 600 human beings. And at some point in the past, there was an extinction event that left only 600 people on the planet. So, you know, that would be, I'd have to do the math, but, you know, there are almost 8 billion people on this planet right now. To take it down to 600, that's, well, we're not quite to 8 billion, but, you know, if we get to 8 billion between now and 18 years from now, when the nodes come around again to the same placement, that's what I meant by the 18-year cycle, is that the nodes go around every 18 years and they click off this point in the charts. So if we don't do what we need to do now, then in 18 years, when the nodes come around to this point again, we'll have to face another event that was similar. Some of the events in the past, I can't name them all. Maybe someday I'll make a video that lists all of them, but some of them were the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, and World War I, which happened at the same time. Another was 9/11, and 9/11 then led to an economic recession. And we also saw the anthrax scare, and we went to war against Afghanistan and Iraq, and we're still dealing with the repercussions of that even now, 18 years later. So so what's happening now with the pandemic, I'm telling you, no matter how bad it gets, it's going to be a picnic in the park compared to what's coming in 18 years if we don't get our shit together. This is serious stuff. I mean, I am dead serious about this. So underneath my rage is fear that we won't do what we need to do to change our behavior, to save our species and so many other species from extinction. And also all the pain that will cause to so many people. And then below the fear is just the love that I feel, you know, the care that I feel for humanity and for individual human beings and for all the species. I don't want to see that happen. And this is our opportunity to change. But the thing is that, you know, we got to change ourselves individually. And so when you look at the Pluto-Jupiter conjunction, you have this opportunity for wealth and power. But I'm not talking about the Trump kind of wealth and power. That's a false wealth. That's a false power. And I showed you in my last video, if you can't take responsibility, if you can't, and I'm talking about radical self-responsibility, if you can't do that, then you don't have an ability to respond. And if you don't have an ability to respond, you're powerless. The only way to empower yourself truly is radical self-responsibility. That means taking responsibility for everything in your life, everything you encounter. Because, you know, it's like, if you're not happy where you are in your life, the only person who can change it is you. Nobody else can change it. And if you're not happy with the world you see around you, then you need to get out and make changes to the world around you. You can't wait around for somebody else to do it. And this is the lesson of consciousness expansion at this time on planet Earth for human species. So when I talk about you personally using this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, I'm talking about empowering yourself through radical self-responsibility. And when you have that power, you can gain wealth. And what I mean by wealth is not necessarily dollar bills. I'm not necessarily talking about physical or material objects. I'm talking about a spiritual, energetic wealth and power. And if that's not good enough for you, then you need to look at your ego, because it's the ego that wants more. It's the ego that's greedy for more and more and more material objects in order to feel comfortable, to live in pleasure and comfort and a hedonistic lifestyle. And I'm not saying that you guys are like that. I'm saying just in general, if you crave more than you actually need, that's the ego. But if your needs are met in terms of if you have a safe, warm, dry place to sleep at night, if you have enough food in your belly, you know, to keep you healthy, and if you're in a situation that's abusive, then that's an example of needing to empower yourself. But if you have what you need, then wanting more is more likely about the ego. And usually the ego is sometimes described as, or this craving is sometimes described as the realm of the hungry ghosts. That the idea of the realm of the hungry ghosts is that the hungry ghost has a huge mouth, wants to eat, 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 eat. And tiny little sliver straw throat, so it can't get all the food in. You know, it wants to eat, 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 because it has a huge mouth, but it can't get all the food through that tiny little straw. And the reason why it's described that way is because the 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 craving can never be satisfied, you know. And I had mentioned Sean Hannity in a previous video. People are like, why are you watching Sean Hannity? And the thing was is that I had just seen a brief clip. So it wasn't like I was just sitting there, you know, sitting back and watching the whole show. Is like I can't I can't handle that. But I did happen to catch this brief clip, and I talked to a friend, and you know, I just said, like, I mean, he has some extraordinary number of houses that he gains rental income from. So he's a capitalist. See, and Mitch McConnell is also a capitalist. So even though they work, you know, Hannity works, he has his show, and Mitch McConnell works, he's a senator, but their primary income is from capital, not from the actual work that they do. See? So that's the difference between the working class and the capitalist class. So Sean Hannity and Mitch McConnell and even Trump are all part of the capitalist class because their wealth comes from capital. Their primary wealth comes from capital, not from the work that they do. You can have a job, you can work, but that's not, you know, as a capitalist, that's not where your primary source of income comes from. It comes from capital. So they are capitalists, and they want you to believe that that they're just like you and me, and they're not, you know. So I got really angry about what he was saying, and you know, and I was talking to a friend about it, and I just could not understand, why does someone need so much, you know? I mean, on one hand, it's like, you know, if he worked hard and he invested, you know, I mean, there should probably be some limit on what, how much wealth a person can have. But if he worked hard and he invested, you know, up to a certain limit, I have no problem with that. but then to on top of that lie and make it sound like the Democrats were, you know, coming up with this incredibly far left agenda that he knew was going to trigger his listeners. That's just lying, because he's not telling the truth about corporate socialism and corporate welfare, and the fact that the bill, the way it was originally written by the Republicans, was going to allow corporations to get this enormous welfare, socialist welfare package for them, the corporations, with no standards about what they could or could not do with that. So basically, they could lay people off, never bring them back. They could use the money to create automation so that they would never have to bring those people back to work. And they could give themselves golden parachutes and all kinds of things, you know, which, you know, people like Sean Hannity and Mitch McConnell, they love that stuff. But yeah, I was angry about it, mostly because they weren't telling the truth. You know, if they had told the truth, like I said to my friend, if Sean Hannity had just said, okay, everybody bend over because we're going to give you the big one right up the butt. Excuse me, but like, I just got so angry. Like, if he just said that, because that's the truth, then, and everybody said, okay, fine, we're going to bend over and give it to us, you know, then fine. If people know what the truth is and they want it, fine. But the fact is that most people in the working class, and again, that's anyone whose income is based on their work, not their capital, but their work, then if they're voting Republican, then they are basically bending over, you know. And apologies if anyone finds that metaphor offensive, but that's the way I talk when I get really, really angry. So, okay, so coming back to what you personally can do with this energy, it's really about empowering yourself through radical self-responsibility. That means if you want power, only you can give yourself power through taking responsibility and not blaming other people, not pointing fingers at other people, because that's not an ability to respond. You can't respond when you think somebody else is at fault, because what are you going to do? You know, the only person you can change is yourself. So if you want power and wealth, again, I'm talking about an energetic wealth and power. So what I mean by that is like an energetic vibration, the energy of the heart, the energy of gratitude, and the energy of power, self-empowerment, ability to respond, radical self-responsibility and self-empowerment. That's what makes you powerful, because then nobody can take that away from you. And you can use that energy to create amazing things and to manifest amazing things. And also, the craving is someone who can never be satisfied. So, though it may surprise you, the truth is that people like Sean Hannity and Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump are deeply, deeply unhappy people. They never feel satisfied. And they may pretend like they're satisfied. Maybe on some level, they do feel satisfied seeing themselves as better than other people, but that's not real, you know? It's like, if the only way you can feel good about yourself is to look down at someone else, that's not real power. That's not real wealth. That's a pathology. That's a mental illness. Seriously. So these people have a pathology. It's an addiction. It's a mental illness. And they aren't truly happy people. So, so think about what you want to create with this energy. And really the way you create with this energy is to find out what you love, find out what you truly value, and move in that direction. So, you know, most people, we've been taught to crave money. That's what our culture teaches us to crave. It teaches us that everything is transactional. We learn that when we're children. We get punished when we do something that our parents don't like or that the authority figures don't like. And we get rewarded when we do things that they do like. And what that teaches us is that everything is transactional. It teaches us that if you want love, if you want to feel like you belong, like you matter, then you need to be in a transactional relationship that gets you those things. That's what we learn as children. Then when we go to school, we get grades. So if you behave the way the authority figures want you to behave, you get an A. And if you don't behave the way they want you to behave, you get an F. And basically, shame, blame, and judgment are used as behavior modification. So, so you learn this transactional way of existing in the world. You learn that to meet your needs, you have to behave the way other people want you to behave, give them what they want you to give them, and that all relationships are transactional, that you meet your needs through in this transactional way. That's what we're taught as children. That's what we're taught in school. And by the time we get out into the work world, we are trained to think about everything in a transactional way. So instead of thinking about what we really want, which is love, happiness, joy, peace, serenity, tranquility, which you can get even in the midst of a crisis, to matter, to belong, to feel connected, to feel appreciated, to be seen, to be heard, to know that you exist, that you matter, that you're part of this group, and that they want you, that they see you, they hear you, they tell you, hey, you matter to us. We want you here. Please come and join us. That's what we all want at a basic psychological level. Of course, we also have material and physical needs that have to be met, such as feeding ourselves, hopefully with healthy food. We need a safe place to live out our lives, you know, to sleep at night, to take care of our bodily needs. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, if you get those basic survival needs met, then you can move up to higher and higher needs, and to the very top, which is self-actualization. But because people have been trained to experience life and their value as being transactional, and to equate that to money, then they're always thinking, I need more money, I need more money, I need more money, because they don't realize that their needs actually, the needs that they're actually trying to meet for self-actualization have nothing to do with money. But we've been trained to think that way. And that training is so deeply ingrained within us that we're always behaving that way. And when we're always behaving that way, then the rest of the world, then we're locked into a web of human beings who are behaving transactionally, trying to get their needs met, and to have a sense of value in this transactional way, where the transactions are always equated to money. And so the question is, how do you get out of that? And I'm not saying it's easy, because we're all part of this web. And so when they're all behaving that way, it's hard for us not to behave that way, or it's hard for us to transform our behavior such that we are no longer viewing things as transactional, or equating all of our needs to money. Like, if I had that money, then I could meet my needs. And if I can get the right transaction, I can get the money, and then I can meet my needs. And what I'm telling you is none of that is true. Okay? On a spiritual level, none of that is actually true. It's a fantasy that has been implanted in our neural networks from the time we're born, because we are all learning that everything is transactional, that our value as human beings is transactional. In other words, what I give, if I give you something, you will give me something, and then I know that I have value and I have worth. And I'm saying that's not true. Every human being has value and worth because they exist. That's all they have to do, is exist. They don't have to be involved in transactions. Now, there are also what are called like real consequences. There's a term that people use, I can't think of it right now, meaning that if you want to lie in the sun all day, you can get a sunburn, but you won't necessarily have food to eat. If you go and you grow your food, you'll have food to eat. If you build a house, you'll have a house to live in. If you lie on the beach all day, you might get a tan or a sunburn, but you won't have food to eat. You won't have housing. And so there does need to be some kind of, you need to take into account these real consequences. But usually if a person isn't willing to contribute, it's because there's some kind of blockage, because they're actually resistant to this transactional concept of reality without even realizing that that's what's going on inside them. And so it's actually kind of passive aggressive. It's like saying, I don't want to be enslaved in the system. I don't want my value to be viewed as transactional, and they know that on a subconscious level, and so they won't contribute, like being passive aggressive. But it's not because they're like bad, wrong, evil, nothing like that, lazy, nothing like that. It's simply because something deep within them is trying to fight for freedom, trying to fight for what they actually want, which is to be free and to be valued for their existence. And so instead of contributing, which all human beings actually naturally want to contribute, they resist doing it because it's the only way they can see to be free. But again, this isn't happening on a conscious level, it's happening on a subconscious level, because all human beings naturally want to contribute. That's a need. It's a universal need to contribute. And so what I'm telling you to do is to find out what your heart wants. How does your heart want to contribute? Like when I used to work in a law firm, I was miserable. I hated the commute. I had to commute 45 minutes one way. So a round trip for me was an hour and a half every day. And I had to do that because I couldn't afford to live in the area where I worked. So I had to drive in order to have lower rent. So I was driving an hour and a half a day. That's, when you add that up over 5 days, that's a full day's work, literally. So I was doing a full day's work 6 days a week. And so I hated the commute, and I hated being rushed in the morning. I hated having to dress the way other people wanted me to dress. It wasn't me. And I hated not being with my daughter because she wasn't even in kindergarten at the time. She was in a daycare. I hated not being with her. My heart so much wanted to live a different life, not the life that I was living, but I couldn't figure out how to break out of that system yet. And then there were so many other things, like I just didn't like the work, to be completely honest. I was an intellectual property paralegal, and basically I worked with an attorney who did like communication technology. And so, we would get patents for like cell phone technology and stuff like that. And I was just basically in a document factory. I wasn't using my creativity at all. I didn't feel in any way connected to the work that I was doing. It was just a document factory. It's like, okay, shuffle papers, shuffle papers, shuffle papers. And I was desperately miserable. So when 9/11 came, which was 18 years ago, by the way, we're in the next 18-year cycle, and there will be another one 18 years from now. So I'm talking about something that happened to me in the last 18-year cycle, which was 9/11. And what that said to me was, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. When I went to work that day, I got my coffee, I sat down at my desk, I checked email and phone messages, which I did every day. And my mother had left numerous messages for me telling me to check the news. And so I did, and that's when I found out what happened. And I realized that the people who went to work that day were just like me. And if I only had a few seconds to ask myself, was it worth it? The answer was always no. And I thought, what am I doing here? I don't want to be here. There is nothing in me that wants to be here. And I really got to the point, I left that job eventually, and I worked toward becoming self-employed. So I'm now self-employed. It was a long, hard journey, but I've never regretted a single step. And I hope that you guys will get on that journey this year, so that in 18 years from now, when the shit really hits the fan, and you look back on what happened this year, and you think that was a picnic in the park compared to this, at least you will be a person who knows that whatever you are doing in that moment is worth it. Because there's only one thing right now. If a nuclear bomb fell on this house that I'm in right now, and I only had a few seconds to say, was it worth it? The answer is yes. There's only one other thing that I might rather be doing at this moment, and that would be hugging my daughter and saying, I love you. That's what this Jupiter-Pluto energy is about. It's about asking you, what is it that matters to you? What is it that you value? What is it that your heart wants? Pluto is the god of death. And we need to use death as an advisor, which means that if you know you're going to die, if you know you're not immortal, you are a mortal being, and any of us could die at any moment. And the coronavirus is showing us that. Pluto is showing us that. Then what really matters to you? What does your heart really, really, really want? Because you better get on the ball and start making it happen this year. And if you don't, then you have flushed a winning Powerball ticket down the toilet. And in 18 years from now, when you look back at this and you think, damn, I should have listened to Yvonne. I really, really wish I'd listened to Yvonne back then in 2020. It'll be too late, Sure, there will be new things happening, but you can't go back and get what you lost in 2020. That's the point. So I just want to say thank you. I hope that I gave you guys enough information about that. But any questions you have, please let me know. I will be doing more videos on the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction because it is so, so important. And it's happening 3 times this year. But the first one coming up is April 4th. And I'm making this video. Let's see, this video will go live on Monday, April 30th, which also happens to be the day that Mars moves into Aquarius. That'll be a really interesting shift of energy. And so basically, when this goes live on Monday the 30th, you'll have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You have 5 days to ask yourself what matters. Especially now you have the opportunity. I mean, this is a gift from the universe like I have literally never seen in my entire lifetime. Because basically what the universe has created for us is an opportunity to stop doing something that we were doing that we didn't really want to do, to stay home. And Neptune is giving us the opportunity to go into seclusion and to communicate with the inner self and with the spiritual self and with the heart. And that's Mercury conjunct Neptune. Now, some people will be out communicating the disease, unfortunately. But if you're at home and you're self-connecting, you know, you're in a self-chosen spiritual retreat, solitude and spiritual retreat, time for contemplation, meditation, deep reflection on what you value, what matters to you, what you love, then you will get to benefit from this energy. And, you know, when I say choosing to stay home, yeah, it is a choice. You know, you could just go out and do whatever you want out there. Lots of people will. They'll be defiant. See, what the universe is asking of us right now, they're not demanding, they're asking us to go into solitude and spiritual retreat and deep, deep, deep contemplation. That's a request of the universe. It's a very powerful request, and most of us are abiding by it. We hear the request and we say, yeah, I'm listening. I'm going to follow through on that request. So in the media, you know, in our language, we call it social isolation, and that is Neptune. But also, you can think of it as a request from Neptune. The energy is showering down so intensely. It's not a demand. We have free will. You can choose to go out there and be defiant if you want to. But it's a very powerful request by Neptune for us to go into solitude and spiritual retreat and contemplation and meditation and self-connection, and to ask ourselves very deep questions about what matters to me. What do I truly, truly value? What does my heart want more than anything else? Because you can't go to work on Monday. Now, some of you who are watching, that may not be true. So I'm not saying that 100% of the people who are watching this video won't be going to work on Monday. But a lot of us will have that time and that space for inner contemplation. And we need to use that opportunity. This is part of the golden ticket that we've been given, is the opportunity that Neptune is giving us to go into this isolation, this solitude, this spiritual retreat, self-connection, contemplation, cloistering. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful opportunity that we've been given here. And so we don't want to miss that opportunity. And not only are we freed up to do that, because the economy has, you know, come to somewhat of a grinding halt, but also many of us will have sources of income that will now be, in a sense, independent sources of income, because unemployment benefits are actually an independent source of income, meaning that it's not actually tied to the work that you do every day. You can do whatever you want. If you have been laid off, but you're still either going to receive unemployment benefits or severance package, which many of us will, not 100%, but many of us will, then you have the opportunity. You now have an independent source of income that's not tied to the work you do, and you can do whatever you want. There may be minimal requirements to get the benefits, but under the conditions that we're in right now, I don't see how they can, you know, the benefits for Colorado, the 2 times that I received benefits, unemployment benefits, required that you apply for a certain number of jobs, and you had to list them on a piece of paper. But yeah, I don't see how they can even demand that, because I mean, sure, you can apply, you know, you could have a phone interview or a online interview, but I don't know if they're even going to require that. So we'll see. But the point is that, you know, you don't have to worry about it. if you put your resume out there, put applications out there, and even if you do a few interviews, if you want a job, great. Go for the job you want, you know? Don't go for just some crappy job. Take the opportunity to go for what you really want. Or if you want to be self-employed, go for the work that you really want, you know? I wanted to focus my life on consciousness expansion, freedom and consciousness expansion. That's what I said. That's what I want more than anything in the world, is freedom and consciousness expansion and love. That's what I wanted my whole life to be about. And I kept saying no to the things I didn't want. You know, I didn't want slavery. If my heart said, I don't want to go there, I really, really, really tried to find another way to meet my needs so that I didn't have to go in a direction that I really didn't want to go in. And I love the work that I do now. I absolutely love it. I love my life now. And yes, it was a long, hard road over the past 18 years. I won't say it wasn't, but I have never, ever, ever regretted a moment of it. Never. Sometimes I wished it would have been easier, but again, I never regretted it. So I think that's about it for today's video, and I'll look forward to your comments and keep this conversation going. And I will do more videos on, obviously on the alignments, but specifically on the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. It's happening 3 times this year. April 4th, that's the big one. That's the first direct. Again, you're going to be receiving, you may very likely be receiving money from the government, the stimulus checks, unemployment, whatever. You know, if you got a refund, a tax refund, you can still you know, file your taxes and get your refund. So so there's lots of opportunity for a large number of people to receive this independent source of income, meaning you don't have to work for it. You can then follow your heart. You have the space, the time to follow your heart and meet your needs. That's so exciting. And I do feel sad for those who, for some reason whatsoever, they've fallen through the cracks. I feel a deep, deep sadness for them. And if any of you on my channel, watching my channel, if you're one of those people who've fallen through the cracks, like I said before, you know, please leave a comment below, because other people may have resource suggestions for you. You know, I don't personally know what they might be, but we can all learn from each other. So this is an opportunity for us to create community and share with each other information or other resources that we may have. So I will look forward to your comments. And as always, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. Click like on this video. Share with friends and family and on social media. And leave your comments. And again, if you are interested in getting more one-on-one FaceTime with me, please join my astrology workshop. It's only $120 for 6 weeks. That includes 6 hours of one-on-one time with me. 3 hours, just you and me, and then another 3 hours in a group. So for $120 for 6 weeks, that's extraordinary. You'll never see that price again. And as I said, if you're one of those people who really wants to take the workshop but can't afford it, please contact me at admin@yvonnedavis.com, and we can look at sliding scale. I haven't done that in the past, so I don't have one worked out yet, but if people make requests and we negotiate, then that will help me in the future to already have something set in place. And I always appreciate people who are willing to contact me and make requests, because that is self-empowerment, you know. And I just cheer that on 100%. So anyway, if you want to take the workshop, click on the link below. It's for the workshop itself, it's $120, but if you want to get another addition to that, which is a one-on-one 1-hour astrology reading, then you can add in the astrology reading at a significant discount. It's the same price that I offered for my New Year's special. So I'm really hoping a lot of people will take advantage of that, because I had been planning to do this. And I think that, and several people asked me to do it. And I think that a lot of people are feeling fear about spending money. And I want to do what I can to help alleviate those fears, so that you can have what you want. If you wanted to take the workshop, if you want to take it now, I don't want you to be held back by fear. Okay. I also have a financial freedom workshop that is available. That's 12 weeks. And same with the astrology workshop. If you buy it as a package with the reading, then you get your 1 hour reading at the discounted rate. So separately, they're more expensive. Together as a package, you get them both discounted. And finally, if you want a 1 hour reading with me, those are still available. Just click on the link. That's the only thing, the 1 hour readings and the half hour readings are the only thing that I can't discount right now, just because I discovered from my New Year's special that I really needed to limit the number of readings that I could do at that rate, because I ended up getting so overwhelmed that it was really hard for me to manage my workload, and I felt physically exhausted at the end of it. So I didn't want to put, I can't put myself in that position again. So I have to manage my workload. So that's the one thing I can't discount right now, are the 1 hour readings and the half hour readings. But if you want to take one of my workshops and get a reading with that, then you can get them discounted in the package. All right, so I guess one more thing is, if you want to become a patron, you qualify for free gifts. One is a free birth chart, a copy of one of my books in PDF form. And these are real books. They're not like, you know, those cheapo things that some people put out. I mean, these are real books. You can buy them in paperback from Amazon. They're both over 200 pages, maybe 300 pages. I mean, it's a real book. And then you can also qualify for discounts on workshops and readings. So, so I hope that you will take advantage of some of these opportunities so we can work together more one-on-one. I really like that. Alrighty, so that's it for today. And I will see you again next time.